History is a story told by victors, but it is haunted by those who whispered in the shadows. We're taught about the power of the throne and the rule of law, but there is another power, more ancient and far more terrifying. It is the power of the unseen, the untraceable poison, the fatal curse, the specter that lingers in the palace halls. This is the story of women who, when cornered in the world of men, turned not to politics, but to the forbidden arts. They were the royal witches, the shadow sorceresses, whose smiles could hide a deadly toxin and whose whispers could invoke a curse that would topple an heir. This is the history that was meant to be buried. Part 1. The Art of Poison, the Ottoman Harem. The Ottoman harem was not just a political battleground, it was a laboratory for the silent death. In a place where hundreds of women vied for the affection of one man, the quickest way to eliminate a rival was not confrontation, but a single, tasteless, odorless drop. It was said that concubines learned the art of poison from their attendants. They knew which root caused a death that mimicked a heart attack, which fungus induced a slow descent into madness. The sudden death of a young prince or the decline of a favored concubine was officially blamed on illness, but the harem knew the truth. It was a perfect, untraceable assassination. Harem Sultan, who rose from slavery, was accused by her rivals of using Western sorcery to bewitch Sultan Suleiman. They claimed she had not just captured his heart, but ensnared his very soul with spells and talismans. Her enemies often died suddenly and mysteriously, leading the entire court to believe she was protected by dark supernatural forces. The gilded cage of the harem was, in fact, a bubbling cauldron of curses and poison. Part 2. The Affair of the Poisons, the Darkness of Versailles. 17th century France, under King Louis XIV, was rocked by a horrifying scandal. L'Affaire des Poisons, the Affair of the Poisons. It exposed a secret underworld at the heart of Versailles, where the most powerful noblewomen, including the king's own mistress, Madame de Montespan, sought out sorceresses like La Voisin. They came to buy love potions, abortifactions, and deadly poisons to eliminate their rivals at court. Ghastly black mass rituals were performed, allegedly using the blood of infants to summon demonic forces for power and the king's favor. The glittering palace of Versailles was built on a foundation of horrific secrets, where love and death were bought in vials. The influence of these women came not just from charm, but from the terror inspired by their dabbling in the black arts. Part 3. The Vengeant Ghosts, the Curses of the Japanese Court. At the Heian court of Japan, the greatest fear was not the assassin's knife, but the Onryō, the vengeant ghosts of those who died in torment. It was believed that court ladies who were wronged, exiled, or murdered would return as the most terrifying specters to haunt their enemies. The tale of Genji is filled with stories of spirit possession, where the ghost of a jealous dead lover returns to possess and kill her rival. Court politics was therefore not just about alliances, but also about appeasing the dead. Elaborate rituals were performed to placate the spirits of rivals. An empress feared not only a living competitor, but the curse her ghost could place upon the imperial heir. In this world, the supernatural was a real and present political weapon. Part 4. The Dragon Empress's Shadow, the Ghosts of the Forbidden City. No shadow queen is more infamous than Empress Dowager Cixi of China's late Qing dynasty. Ruling for nearly 50 years from behind a silk screen, her reign was marked by rumors of poison and ghostly intrigue. The mysterious deaths of her political rivals, including the co-regent Empress Xian and later the Guangxu Emperor himself, have long been attributed to slow-acting poisons administered on Cixi's orders. The forbidden city under her rule was said to be a haunted place where the ghosts of murdered concubines and princes roamed the corridors at night. Cixi's rule was not just a political reality, it was a spectral presence, a ghost on the dragon throne, manipulating a nation through fear and whispers from behind a veil. Part 5. The Blood Countess, the Horror of Castle Cixi. But sometimes the whispers were not just rumors. Sometimes the woman in power was a true monster. History gives us no darker example than Countess Erzsébet Báthory of Hungary. Known as the Blood Countess, she was a noblewoman of immense wealth and power in the late 16th and early 17th centuries. But behind the walls of her castle, she is said to have committed unspeakable acts. According to testimony, she and her servants tortured and murdered hundreds of young girls. The legends, born from the trial records, are pure Gothic horror. They speak of her bathing in the blood of virgins to maintain her own youth and beauty, believing it to be the ultimate dark magic. She was a woman whose power and status acted as a shield, allowing her to turn her domain into a personal abattoir. While some historians argue the case against her, the chilling accounts from her trial paint a portrait of a woman who truly embodied the royal witch. Pause. Visuals slowly pan across portraits of all the women mentioned, their faces fading in and out like ghosts. Voiceover. Concluding, a chilling, reflective tone. Poison, curses, ghosts, and blood magic. Were these women truly dabbling in the dark arts? Or were they simply powerful figures so feared by the men around them that history had no choice but to paint them as witches and monsters? The truth is often buried with the dead, but their stories leave a chilling legacy. They prove that in the great game of empires, the most terrifying moves were often made in silence, with a drop of poison, a whispered curse, or a pact made in the darkest chambers of the human soul. They remind us that the ghosts of history are real, and they are still whispering, waiting to be heard. The story has come to an end. If it left a powerful impression on you, please consider supporting the channel with a like and subscription. It's the best way to ensure more stories like this can continue to be told. Thank you.